Greetings! The following presentation is for the National History Day competition, the communication of history. We bid good luck to all of the competitors. We hope you enjoy this presentation. The Navajo Code Talkers. World War II ended when the United States dropped newly constructed nuclear bombs on Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This astounding defeat of Japan, known as one of the Axis powers along with Germany and Italy, was made possible by the takeover of the island of Iwo Jima. The Battle of Iwo Jima was an epic military battle between the United States Marine Corps, led by General Harry Schmidt, and the Imperial Army of Japan, led by Lieutenant General Tadachami Kobayashi. During this bloody 4-week campaign, thousands of soldiers died on both sides. It is widely known that the Americans had an advantage. During this battle, due to the unbreakable code, this code was possible only because of the courageous work of 29 men known as the Navajo Code Talkers. The Navajo Code was an unwritten, complex language of Navajo to keep the code breakers of the Axis powers from knowing what the United States military was planning. By capturing the island of Iwo Jima, which was only 750 miles from the mainland of Japan, the United States was able to stage the bombings, and that resulted in the surrender of Japan, officially ending World War II.
During World War II, secret codes were used by both sides. The ability to communicate military plans in secret is extremely important. The United States and their allies, as well as the Axis powers, were always trying to break each other's codes. Historians credit the work of these brave 29 Navajo Native Americans as being critical to the victory at Iwo Jima. These men were handpicked because of their fluency of the Navajo language. In the 1940s, this complicated and unique language was spoken only by Navajo Native Americans, a tribe located east of Las Vegas, Nevada. Navajo was the unbreakable code that was different from other languages spoken at the time of World War II. This threw off Axis powers and was the perfect way for the United States Marines to communicate through the unbreakable code. The United States Marine Corps enlisted the help of the Navajo Indians to develop this top secret communication system. During a battle, the Navajo Code Talkers would use radios to relay messages back and forth between different groups, then speak English to their command structure. The Navajos were also trained with combat skills such as self-defense and firing in case they needed to protect themselves in battle. Here you see Private First Class Preston Toledo and Private First Class Frank Toledo that are relaying orders over a field radio. Some of the Navajo Code Talkers are still alive. In this image, we see Navajo talker John Kinzel, a survivor of Iwo Jima, at an event in 2019, receiving his gift from the office of President Donald J. Trump.
The Navajo Nation was brought into the war because of their language, with different lettering slightly similar to English, and different tones for some lettering. This threw off the code breakers of the Axis powers. The Navajo Code Talkers were more efficient for relaying messages, with the ability to relay 3 lines of English in only 20 seconds, which was much less effort compared to previous code systems. Because the Navajo language was spoken only by the Navajo tribe, the military of the Axis powers would have thought the Americans were speaking gibberish. Also, the code the United States Marine Corps was using before they used Navajo took 30 minutes to break. However, Navajo was unbreakable. That is why it is referred as the Unbreakable Code. Here you see a written example of what Navajo language looks like. Though the Navajo did not use written language in the 1940s, as you can see, there is some English lettering mixed in with the native language. Because of this, some words and letters are pronounced with different tones. This language was so unique to the outside world that the Axis powers did not realize they were listening to a unique unwritten language. They were very frustrated because they could not predict what the Americans would do next. Meanwhile, the Americans had secretly already broken the German code known as Enigma, but that's a story for another day.
Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan were known as the Axis powers in the time of World War II. Italy's fascist dictator was Benito Mussolini. Germany had a new ruler of Adolf Hitler, and Japan had an emperor Hirohito. All these Axis countries were suffering from economic problems, while Great Britain and the United States were doing well. Nazi Germany started the war by violating the Treaty of Versailles, also taking over Poland, Austria, and Czechoslovakia. In Italy, the fascist leader Mussolini hated France and thought that joining with Germany would give the Italians an advantage over France. Japan was very interested in expanding its global influence and power, and joined an alliance with Germany and Italy. The Allied powers were made up of Great Britain, France, and later the United States, and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. The United States was led by Presidents Franklin D. Roosevelt, and Harry S. Truman. France was led by Charles de Gaulle, and Great Britain led by Prime Minister Winston Churchill. At first, the United States resisted being part of the war. But on December 7, 1941, Japan surprise attacked Pearl Harbor, a military base in Hawaii that belonged to the United States. Because of this brutal attack that killed over 2,000 American service members, the United States had no choice but to join the Allied powers and declare war on Japan and the Axis powers. This would eventually lead to the Battle of Iwo Jima.
Secret codes were being used throughout World War II. They played an important role in keeping secrets from enemies. Soon after the United States joined the war, Italy was able to get rid of their dictator Mussolini and pulled out of the war, leaving Germany and Japan as the only Axis powers left. On June 6, 1944, the United States hit hard on the beach of Normandy, France. Allied powers retook over France from Nazi Germany and pushed the Germans back to the Nazi capital of Berlin. When Adolf Hitler heard of the news of the Allied powers in Berlin, he committed suicide in his bunker. Incredible turn of events led Germany to pull out of the war, leaving Japan, the only remaining Axis power. The Japanese refused to surrender and fought viciously in the islands near their homeland, losing many thousands of brave Japanese soldiers. Around this same time, 750 miles off the coast of Japan, the Battle of Iwo Jima took place. The Americans planned to invade the island and expected the battle to only last a couple of days. However, the Japanese were more expecting the attack and had prepared their defenses. This caused the battle to last over a month. This made the work of the Navajo code talkers extremely important because as the battle raged on, the United States military needed to constantly communicate to different groups on the island. The Japanese were listening carefully, trying to decode what the Americans were saying. They could not understand the language of Navajo, which kept the Japanese in from knowing their plans. Both sides fought bravely. Though the United States Marines came out with the victory, the brutal and bloody battle ended with an epic image of the United States Marines planting the American flag on Iwo Jima's mountaintop with the help of the Navajo code talkers. World War II went out with a bang. A literal one. U.S. scientists had created a nuclear bomb able to destroy a city in one go by splitting an atom. On August 9, 1945, 2 bombs were dropped on 2 critical cities. The United States Navy were able to stage this attack from the islands near Japan, including Iwo Jima. Japan surrendered on August 15, 1945, officially ending World War II. These attacks were made possible by the defeat of the Japanese in the Battle of Iwo Jima with the help of 29 brave soldiers known as the Navajo Code Talkers. Thank you again for watching this presentation, and from the producer, James Marcus Williams, editor, Mr. Cliff, and executive producer, myself, Samuel Eggmeyer, we say thank you.